You know, every single day, you and I, we tap, we swipe, we pinch and zoom on our screens. Our digital world is so visual, so intuitive, it honestly feels like it's part of us. But here's the thing. This wasn't a given. It had to be invented. So let's take a trip back in time, back to when talking to a computer meant learning a whole different and kind of tricky language.
On one side, you had the world of the command line. You know, you've seen it in the movies, that green text on a black screen. Super powerful, yeah, but you had to memorize all these cryptic commands just to get anything done. On the other side is the world we all live in now, the graphical user interface, or the GUI, a world of icons and windows that we can just reach out and touch.
So how in the world did we make that jump? Where did this idea of a visual, interactive world even come from? Now, you might think it all started with the mouse, but the real story is way more surprising. The idea, the vision, was actually born before the main tool we use to navigate it.
The answer to that question, the person who first dreamed up this future and then actually built it, well, that was a man named Ivan Sutherland. And his story is really the story of how computers learned to see and to draw. So who was this guy? Well, Ivan Sutherland, born in 1938, sounds like he was quite a character. He'd proudly say his Scottish roots gave him the guts for innovation. He followed his big brother into the brand new field of computer science, and he even joked that one reason he went to Caltech was to be as far from his mother-in-law as possible. You gotta love that. The real game changer for him came in 1960. He's just 22 years old, and he goes to a lecture by the legendary AI pioneer Marvin Minsky. Sutherland said he was completely charmed by the possibilities he saw. That was it. He decided right then and there to pack his bags and head straight for the heart of the action, MIT.
And at MIT, he was surrounded by giants. Think about this. As a teenager, he'd already met Claude Shannon, the father of information theory. Minsky, the AI guy, became one of his mentors. And his main advisor was Stephen Coons, a total genius at using math to design geometric shapes, like for airplane wings. So you've got information theory, AI, and geometry. It's like the perfect cocktail for a revolution.
So all those incredible influences, they all came together in Sutherland's PhD thesis back in 1963. But this wasn't just some boring paper. No, this was a working computer program that would completely change our relationship with machines forever. It was called Sketchpad. The idea was so simple, but so profound. Sketchpad was the very first program that let a person talk to a computer not with text, but with pictures. You could literally draw on a screen with a light pen. This was the moment direct graphical interaction was born. And using it must have felt like magic. You'd calibrate this little light pen, and then you could just draw on the screen. But this was so much more than digital doodling. You could apply what he called constraints. You could tell the computer, hey, make these two lines parallel. And then you could copy, move, scale, or rotate your whole creation just like that. This was completely unheard of. Sutherland himself put it perfectly in his thesis. He wrote, "Sketchpad allows a man and a computer to converse rapidly through the medium of line drawings." It wasn't about commands, you see. It was about having a conversation, a creative back and forth, using images.
Now, Sketchpad itself was really just a proof of concept, but the ideas inside it, they were like seeds. And those seeds grew into not one, not two, but three massive technological revolutions that basically define the world we live in today.
Okay, revolution number one, the most obvious one, the graphical user interface itself. The simple idea that you should be able to see and point to stuff on a computer screen, it all starts right here.
You can literally draw a straight line. 1963, Sketchpad proves it's possible. 5 years later, this other brilliant guy, Douglas Engelbart, who was a huge fan of Sketchpad, he gives a presentation that's so legendary it's called the mother of all demos. He shows the world the mouse, Windows, hypertext, all of it. And those ideas flowed directly into the creation of the Apple Macintosh and Microsoft Windows. Every single desktop you've ever used has Sketchpad in its DNA. But Sutherland wasn't just trying to make computers easier to use for everybody. He was trying to make them genuinely useful for engineers and designers. And that led to the second revolution, computer-aided design, or CAD. I mean, just think about it. Today, pretty much everything is designed with CAD software. The phone in your hand, the car you might drive, the building you're sitting in right now. It's the absolute bedrock of modern engineering. And that whole multi-billion-dollar industry, yep, it traces its roots right back to a PhD project that lets someone draw a line. Okay, so this is where Ivan Sutherland goes from just being a visionary to something else. I mean, as if inventing the GUI in CAD wasn't enough, he immediately started thinking about the next step, planting the seeds for a third revolution, augmented and virtual reality. You have to hear this. Just 2 years after Sketchpad, in 1965, this is what Sutherland wrote. The ultimate display would be a room within which the computer can control the existence of matter. A chair displayed in such a room would be good enough to sit in. He was describing the holodeck from Star Trek decades before anyone had ever heard of it. It's just incredible.
And he didn't just write about it, he started building it. In 1968, he and a student created this wild device. They nicknamed it the Sword of Damocles because it was so heavy it had to hang from the ceiling. This was the world's very first head-mounted display that could track your head movements. It was the birth of AR and VR.
So what kind of mind comes up with 3 world-changing revolutions? I mean, it wasn't just about being smart, right? It was a whole philosophy of innovation, a totally unique way of looking at problems.
Sutherland said he wasn't trying to solve some huge, impossible problem. He looked for simple things. He noticed that if you erase a pencil line, it smudges the paper, but on a computer, it just vanishes. He understood that this tiny difference was, in his words, an important thing. He zeroed in on the simple, fundamental truths that computers made possible.
And what drove him wasn't money or fame. It was just pure, raw curiosity. He described working in this brand new field, where every single day you could do something that nobody in history had ever done before. For him, just getting it to work, that was the best reward you could possibly imagine.
So, at the end of the day, Ivan Sutherland's real legacy isn't just the GUI or CAD or even VR. It's the mindset. It's the proof that if you have that relentless curiosity and you have the courage to just step into the unknown, you can literally draw a new future into existence.
For 60 years, Sutherland's visual way of doing things has been king. But today, right now, AI is creating a totally new kind of interaction, one that's based on language. It feels like the story of how we talk to our machines is turning a new page, and it leaves you wondering, what does the next Sketchpad look like?